What's up, listeners? It's Andrea. Today, we can't decide if it's all uphill or all downhill from here. Geordi stars in Final Destination in space, and we ask the question, why couldn't the Enterprise just catch up to the runaway shuttlecraft? Stick with us.
Welcome to the TNG Podcast, the number one place in the Alpha Quadrant to geek out about all things Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm your co-host, Shereese.
I'm your co-host, Andrea. Today, we're talking Season 4, Episode 18. 18 already.
Already done, I think.
I can't. How? Why?
Don't know what happened. But I think, though, for the rest of Season 4, I think it's all uphill. Meaning, like, not bad. Like, I think all the rest of the episodes are
downhill?
neutral.
Yeah, no. Uphill
Not
makes it sound
downhill.
harder. I don't
Straight,
know.
level ground. It's level ground for the rest of Season 4.
It's a slight decline, which means it's easy to walk, but not strenuous on the knees. I don't know.
It's like a 15-degree decline.
And this is us in a nutshell. It's Season 4, Episode 18, Identity Crisis. This episode was written by Timothy DeHaas and Brannon Braga and directed by Weinrich Kolb. Commander LaForge and an old friend reunite to find that disturbing events have happened to members of an away team mission that they were on, and they're the only two left unaffected. This is what, like 2 bums?
At least.
Yeah, it's Final Destination in space.
That's exactly
it's got everybody except us two.
That's exactly what it was. I thought this was such a fun episode. Okay, so my initial thoughts, and then I want to talk about just that opening scene being a documentary was so everything.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
So everything. But my initial thoughts was I am excited to see another Geordi-centered episode that doesn't involve a questionable relationship with a hologram. So I was happy about that.
Oh my God. Yes. So a couple of things. My initial thought was I remember this episode because of like the ending with the like blue veiny light up kind of creatures. And I remember seeing this and going, I thought this was like a Season 1 or 2 episode. How did this end up way in Season 4? I remembered not enjoying this episode at all, but my opinion changed as I watched it, where I was like, oh, okay. All right. Couple of things. The writers of this episode, Timothy DeHaas and Brannon Braga, had both said, like, we really love Geordi. We love LeVar Burton as an actor. We love the character. We want to focus on him a little bit more. So this is very Geordi focused. And Suzanne Leighton, who's the old friend that like comes into play, they were going to make it a romantic entanglement that didn't end well. And they were like, hasn't he suffered enough? Like in the relationship department.
I am so glad they didn't do that because
me too.
We've already had so many conversations of poor Geordi and his dating disasters. I don't think that'd be fair. I would rather have him, if they were going to do a love story, which I'm glad they didn't, I would rather have it be like a really beautiful love story where they just decide to go their separate ways at the end, but it's not heartbreak and like he just is, kind of like,
and it's not him wiping out hard. Like Geordi just face plants so fucking hard, and it's always like sad to watch and uncomfortable. But I'm glad that they didn't go that route where it's like there wasn't a fucking virus in the air, there wasn't an electricity monster, Deanna wasn't taken over by some sort of energy being, and Geordi wasn't being face planting left and right in like where
romantic
women are
situations.
involved. Yeah,
totally.
Okay, let's talk about this home video. Because I was like, oh my God, it's like a 24th century home video. I love it. And Geordi's in there in like a red uniform that's very Season 1 or 2 without the like Mandarin collar. And I was like, huh?
Ooh, I totally missed that. I was focused on the star date. I was focused on like the camera work. I was focused on the sound quality. Sounded like it was coming through a camera and not through a boom mic. I was just focused on all the kind of Blair Witch Project type details where I was like, oh, this is so cool. I don't think they've ever started a show like this. I don't know if they've ever done this again either. I love how this started because
I loved it too. Yeah.
And like something terrible is going to happen.
Yes. I can't believe you did not notice that Geordi was in a red uniform.
Nope.
And a very Season 1 or 2 uniform. So I was like, what is going on here? Is this in my mind, I was like, is this is he on the holodeck? Kind of just like, reliving some old memories or like, what the fuck is going on? And we realized it's actually old video footage from 5 years ago. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So Susanna Leighton is showing Riker, Picard, and Geordi the sensor log from an investigation that Lighton and LaForge were both part of like a few years ago. They were investigating this disappearance of 49 colonists from the Tarchanin 3 outpost.
Which is a lot of people to just up and freaking disappear.
Yes.
And the only thing that was left behind were ripped up uniforms. And that's it. So, which leads me to believe they were eaten. Like all of them were eaten. But they couldn't find any evidence. And that would be my first thought. A torn up, uniform and the person's gone. They got eaten by something.
But, oh my God. See, I didn't even think of that because I knew kind of what happened, like watching this yesterday. It's like, I kind of know the ending. I haven't seen it for a long time, but I remember they sort of get transformed. Like I saw it as like they tore themselves out of their clothing or grew, they hulked too big for their clothing. Right. But yes, as a first time viewer, you're right. That would totally look like you were eaten by something.
But there was no evidence of the giant something that ate them. So it was just 49 people gone and just a bunch of outfits tattered and spread around. That is terrifying. I would not want to be investigating that particular mystery.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'd be like, today is, I'm going to take a sick day.
Yeah.
I'm going to go lie down in my quarters. No, don't send Beverly. Don't get near me with a tricorder. It's just, you know what? It's more of like I'm kind of in a brain fog. No, you guys can detect that too. Okay. My eye hurts. Wait, no. You know what? It's just a personal day. Let's just call it a personal.
Yep.
So it turns out that the other members of the away team, Breville, Mendez, Hickman, Lighton, and LaForge were these 5 people who were investigating these missing colonists, and they didn't find anything. And it was kind of a closed case. It was a cold case. Like it was never solved.
Yeah.
But now Breville, Mendez, and Hickman have deserted their posts without any warning, just out of the blue. And a Federation supply ship has spotted Hickman's stolen shuttle, and it's heading back to Tarchanin 3. So they're the only 2, Lighton and LaForge are the only 2 remaining members of the away team that have not disappeared. So it's like final destination in space. Like it's coming for you. Whatever it is that affected them is coming for you. And that is so freaking scary.
And Geordi's saying like Hickman's a family man. He's got a lot to live for. He wouldn't just up and leave them. And Lighton is like, but he totally did. Like we're looking at him right now, running away. So they're okay, something's wrong. Let's just catch him. Let's have a conversation. Let's find out what's wrong. Yeah. And so then they go into this high speed chase. And the whole time you're wondering what could possibly be going on? What could be affecting all these people to come back to this planet 5 years later? And also, when is the clock going to start ticking on Geordi and on Susanna?
Yes. We now know it's going to be some kind of countdown. We don't know when or where or how. And we do know that these members of the away team that are starting to disappear were passing like physicals with flying colors. So it's like, we can't detect what's going on. Now, the Enterprise does try to intercept Hickman and his stolen shuttlecraft, which is on course for, Tarchanin 3, the same place where all the colonists disappeared. Now, they find the shuttle, and it's going into the atmosphere too fast.
And it speeds up because it's running away from the Enterprise.
Yes.
As they're saying, slow down. It's faster and faster.
And it's like your angle of descent, you're going to bounce off the atmosphere and blow up. And that's bad news. And this is a part of the episode that kills me. They're like, we're too far away for tractor beams. We're too far out of like
transport range.
You're the fucking Enterprise and it's a snail. Just speed up and catch up with it. It'll take you literally 1 second to get there. And then you can just beam him out.
Yeah.
You're the freaking Enterprise and it's a shuttle that can barely go 1/4 impulse.
Yeah.
And you guys are stopped 2 planets away just being like, oh, too far. Oh, what do we do? Oh, no. I was like, you're the Enterprise.
I like that. Just go faster. Yeah. I didn't think about that, but I did think when they were saying we can't transport him and he's too far away to tractor. My first thought was tractor him. And they were like, he's too far away to tractor. And I was like, transport him. Oh, we just can't transport him. And then he explodes. I was like, well, that's unfortunate, but I didn't think just go a little bit faster. You're going warp 2, maybe go warp 2.2 and you'll be there before he gets to the planet.
Yeah.
You'll
go
totally
warp
be there.
6 for like half a second and you'll be on top of him. It's fine. You can do that. They just kind of stood there and they're like options. And I was like, can somebody be like, speed up?
So the intrepid crew of the Enterprise didn't think to go a little bit faster and poor Hickman died. So now they're like, what should we do? As they were scanning the surface and scanning Hickman's ship and whatnot before it exploded, they discovered that there were 2 Federation shuttles on the planet right next to the outpost. So they thought, well, the other members of the away team must be down on the planet, and that's where Hickman was going. So let's get together an away team and let's go check it out.
Yes. And they do go down, and Lighton is like, hey, since like I knew these people and I was investigating, this disappearance on this colony like 5 years ago, I feel like I should go down there. And Riker's like, sure. Now, here's the definite, like the beautiful signature of Star Trek, where without a lot happening, you get a lot of information. The lighting, the sound, the soundtrack, all of it. Like they're not finding any life signs, but everyone is getting the feeling that they're being watched. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of looking over the shoulders. There's a lot of like, doo-doo, kind of sounds. And you're like, oh shit, get out of there. Right. And immediately Lighton wanders off and goes missing.
Yep. And you see it in her eyes. She's like feeling something or sensing something. And it's like something's calling to her. And every time this happens in a movie where someone's being called away by some creepy supernatural force, they never think to say anything because they're so in their world. And I'm always like, just give a little holler. Just be like, hey guys, I'm going to head over in this direction. But that never happens. They just get pulled away by the force as silently as possible. No one even knows what direction they went in, how long they've been gone. And it's always so unfortunate. And that was the case here. She just kind of feels pulled. You can tell something's calling her and she just wanders off. And the whole away team kind of collects to compare notes. And Geordi's like, where'd Susanna go? And they're like, who? Oh yeah, she did come down here with us, didn't she? I don't know. I haven't seen her. So then they're like, they do the classic, Susanna, where are you?
Let me remind you that the Enterprise in orbit was able to detect 2 shuttlecrafts crashed on the surface of the fucking planet. But they're like, hey, Enterprise, just like locate Susanna Lighton and then just let us know where her location is. I don't even know if
they needed the Enterprise. I'm pretty sure that's what tricorders are for. They could just be like, doop, 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 there's the other life sign. Because they said they didn't have any human life signs on the planet.
Yeah.
Or at that outpost, I should say. So they could have just been like, doop, doop, there she is.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Yes. They decided to go with the walk and yell approach, which is very earthly of them.
They're still very, very much in like the 15th century, like, hello, like just wandering around. You guys have technology for this, but whatever. Geordi does find her in this weird headspace. And she's like, if you're really quiet, you can feel them. Like they're right there. And she starts freaking out. She goes into this like dissociative state where Geordi's like, hey. And she's like, don't touch me. Oh my God. And she starts freaking out. So Geordi does the right thing, pins her down and is like medical emergency transport now and gets her up in sickbay immediately, which is 100% the right call.
Yeah. If he hadn't grabbed her when he did, I'm pretty sure she would have run away. And because they weren't using their technology, they would have never found her again.
Yep. And they would have been like, so I guess
another one bites Geordi. Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe put like a dog tag on him or something,
like a kitty bell or something.
Yeah, because like you'd be like, it's just a matter of time. But thankfully he grabbed her just at the right moment and got her into sickbay. Yes. And when she was in sickbay, when she kind of opened her eyes, she was back in her right mind. She was kind of like, what's going on? Where am I? Yeah, I look that bad. So it sounded like she was a lot better, but also still kind of sickly. And again, the scans that she took, hours ago said she was 100% fine. And now all of a sudden her cells are different.
Yes. Things are starting to happen. And Lighton is like, I need to get back to work. Doctor, let me know if you find anything, like just whatever. And Beverly, by the way, in her most glorious cloud of red hair. I mean, that hair was fresh off the blow dryer and the hot iron because it was like this beautiful confection of red hair framing Gates McFadden's beautiful face. She was like, not so fast. I need to be sure of what happened down there. We need to run some scans. And Lighton wants to get back to the surface, but she's like, I understand. Like if everybody, I'm thinking if everybody else stole shuttlecrafts, maybe we should just keep an eye on her, post a guard outside of sickbay. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I agree.
Okay. Now here's something that also makes me a little angry. Actually, I would say more angry than the Enterprise not speeding up to just catch up with the shuttlecraft, which they easily could have done. Lighton starts freaking out. Her hands start shaking in the hallway. She and Geordi are off to like engineering to solve this problem. And so her hands start shaking. She's like, oh my God, what's happening to me? And Geordi's like, I'm here. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And I feel like the line he should have said was, I'm here. And sickbay is literally right there. So maybe let's go back. I could still see the door to sickbay. It's right there. Let's just go get this checked out. He's like, hey, nothing a nice hug couldn't fix, and let's get down to engineering and solve this problem. I'm like, buddy, you guys got all the red flags, all of them. Okay, people are missing, people have disappeared and are gone AWOL, people are dying, you guys are the only ones left. Now Susanna's starting to get affected, and you're like, hey, look at my eyes, are you listening? Find my eyes, it's gonna be okay. Let's walk further away from sickbay and keep working on this problem. I was like, no.
And I think part of it was they didn't know what all the symptoms were going to be, but they knew something was going down, and they knew it was probably going to get worse. And that's why Beverly wanted her to stay in sickbay in the first place. But she was very determined to do something to be a part of it, which is a standard response for any and everyone in Starfleet. They're always like, I don't care if I'm missing an arm, I need to get back to work. I don't care if I'm having a heart attack, I need to finish that scan. And
there's
it's just
1,011 other people on the ship. Somebody can do this.
Yeah.
How good are you going to be on those panels without an arm anyway?
Like, I never understand that. I never understand that whenever they're like, but my work. It's like, it's not worth your life. Like, you can't really keep working after you're dead. So just maybe recover a little bit. I don't know. But I can totally understand not wanting to be stuck in sickbay. However, we have already established that you can do anything at any panel at
you
any
could run the whole ship from a side panel right off the holodeck, like
100% inside the holodeck. You can run the whole ship. So I feel like if you really have to do some work, you could absolutely do it in sickbay. You could absolutely do it. Like, there's no reason for you to go to engineering to do your work. You could do it from anywhere while Beverly is still monitoring you. So whatever, they maybe ask security to like go to your quarters and grab like a pad for you to work on and like, prop yourself up. I could see not wanting to be in a hospital because hospitals are horrible places, but that sick bay is like lush AF. It is so comfy in there. It's wonderful.
Like, it's a lovely safe space, and it's got red and blue liquid jars, and it's pretty. And Beverly has like excellent bedside manner. Like, why are you tripping? Just do your job from sick bay.
Prop yourself up, grab a pad, keep it moving. Like, there's no reason to leave. But whatever, she leaves, and she's just losing her mind. She's down in engineering. They're going through scans from their video footage and stuff, and she's just like, this isn't working, we have to get to the planet. And Geordi's like, this was your idea, let's finish this idea and keep scanning for information before we do anything. And also, by the way, you're not going to the planet, that's not happening. So let's just get that
is
straight.
No longer a thing that we're doing. It's not going down there.
Not at all an option. So she just like loses it. She tries to run away screaming, and you just see like her hair is all over the place. Her eyes are all crazy. And you're like, oh my gosh. And she turns to face Geordi and then just collapses. And you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Oh my God.
And
yes.
Literally 1 second after she collapses, her fingers have all merged together into some big clumpy hand thing.
She's got the traveler hands.
She's got the traveler's hands. And in like 1 second, her body has transformed. And Geordi's like, ruh-roh. So now he takes her to sick
medical emergency to engineering.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Medical emergency, the sequel. So they take her back to sick
like
bay.
The back of her neck has like those blue veins, and you're like,
you're like something, because before it was like, we don't know what's going on with them, but it's got to be some kind of, Geordi had hypothesized it was a post-hypnotic suggestion. It was something in their minds compelling them to go back. But now we're seeing it's so much more. There's something actually physically changing them. Yes. Also compelling them, which is a whole nother level of scary.
Yes. And now the other thing we know is Geordi is the last one left. So he's definitely next. And he's like, look, it's time for me to get to work fast. I need to figure this out, which turns out, as we find at the end, nothing that he did really solved the problem. It was really Dr. Crusher who's like, hey, guess what? I have kind of figured out why this is happening, and we can fix you. Like, the stuff going on the planet is really secondary, but he starts running all these tests and nothing is coming up. Now, meanwhile, Lighton is transforming and fast. So Beverly is like, she's doing this transformation. I'm going to give her like extra T cells, which are killer T cells that knock out infection. So she's like, I'm going to give her a dump of T cells that will help kind of fight off whatever this is. But nothing that Beverly's doing is working. Now, Nurse Ogawa is back for a second. I was like, yay, Alyssa's back. And she shows us that Lighton's skin is now able to like mimic light in some way. So she's like, what the hell is going on?
And by the way, she looked very cool, like creepy and gross, but also amazing. Like, I love how the big giant blue veins they put on her follow the path of actual veins.
Yes.
And I think that was just a beautiful touch because it didn't look like they just stuck a bunch of stuff onto her arms. It looked like they followed the actual path, like from the heart, down the arm, around the lymph nodes. Beautiful.
Yes, the way that veins on a human body would go. Actually, I found a really great behind the scenes photo of LeVar Burton, who's sitting in the makeup chair and he's shirtless and they're applying all the veins on him. So he's got like a quarter of his makeup on. It's up on our Instagram now at the TNG Podcast. You can check it out. It looks really cool. He's got the facial prosthetic and these veins on, and they're not glowing blue yet. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but it was a really, really cool find. I found it like way deep down in the archives and I was like, ooh, this is neat. I thought you guys might enjoy that.
Yay. Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I loved the makeup on her. I loved the yellow snake eyes that were glowing. This makeup was just very cool. It wasn't super alien. It was just like very, it's kind of snake eyes and big veins, but the effect that it had, it was so well done. I really, really liked it. And it was, kind of made my skin crawl and added to the creep factor of the episode. But man, beautiful work. Beautiful work.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. Now, actually, this is a great time to kind of talk about this. So the makeup team was trying to figure out how to do this look for these aliens, because as we realized, Dr. Crusher actually discovers very quickly that it's a parasite that's changing her DNA to match its own. So it's not a typical parasite because parasites always feed on the host. It's not feeding off of her. It's just changing her into
exactly what it needs.
Exactly what it needs. Right. So Beverly's like, we need to get that thing out of her now. Right. So she kind of solves this. Now, they were like, how do we make these aliens kind of look the way we want them to? And there were some ideas bandied about, but some old footage that they had, like it was old test footage that they had shot a couple of seasons or episodes before using like UV light and this like UV reflective paint. So they looked at this old footage and the director was like, no, I don't like it. And he wrote it off really quickly. And the makeup team was like, just watch like the full minute of this like experimental footage that we have. And when he finally sat down and really looked at it, he was like, actually, let's go for that. So it was UV reflective like paint. And they literally used like UV light to shine. And they used UV reflective contacts as well. Oh. So it was all practical effects. Nothing about this was really done in like post or very, very, very little of it. So that's actually what LeVar Burton and the actress who plays Suzanne Lighton actually look like on set.
Wow.
Which was so cool. Could you imagine being on set and seeing that? It's like,
and really smart too.
Post-production.
Yeah. Really smart too, because then when they turn in any angle as they're acting, you still get the same really cool effect. Whereas if it was in post, you'd have to be like, oh, they're turning a little to the right, or they'd have to be super still. So that way all the images could match. But that was a really smart move. And it was just super beautiful work. Super beautiful work. So I was a fan of the makeup on this one. So while at some point, which we kind of skipped over this part, but I want to mention it because I thought it was really sweet. At some point, we see Data furiously crunching numbers or doing whatever it is that Data does. And Beverly's like, hey, you're worried about Geordi, aren't you? And he's like, Doctor, I'm an android. I cannot experience worry or whatever. And he's just like, yeah, it's just there's a mystery. There's something affecting Starfleet officers, and it could be a danger to the ship and all of these excuses. And Beverly just kind of gives him this look like, really, Data, really? And then he's like, but I will admit that I'm very strongly motivated to solve this mystery.
Yeah.
And I just
my best friend is in danger.
Yeah. And Data was no help on this episode at all, but I just love that scene. And he was trying, he was trying to save Geordi. It was so sweet.
It was so, so sweet. Now Geordi starts like going through this footage again and again and again, the like home video footage. And he's like, there's some weird shadow in the video that doesn't belong to anyone. So he's like, let me go to the holodeck and simulate the whole thing. And as he goes to the holodeck and is about to hit like, Ready Player One on the like on the panel, he gets the handshakes. And being that Geordi clearly grew up in the American healthcare system, he's like, oh, I've got a troublesome health thing. I'm just going to sit on it for a while because I can't afford to pay for a doctor to like treat this. So I know exactly what's happening to me. And I guess it's time to just do nothing about it and keep going, just keep doing my job, which I was like, God damn it. So he runs the program in the holodeck and he's kind of playing with all the shadows, and he determines that the source of the shadow is actually like a person or being of some sort
who was standing right there and nobody could see them.
Yes. Which
this person was standing right there in the middle of all of them. and nobody could see them, and they didn't show up on the camera, but their shadow did, which is so freaking creepy.
This Again, is so I'd be cool like, and so creepy.
Oh, so ghosts are real. Like that would be my reaction. Like, oh, that, huh? Like I wouldn't have thought of any scientific explanation if someone was standing right there.
Yeah.
And no one saw them, and the camera didn't even see them, but they cast a shadow. That is nuts. That's totally nuts.
That was terrifying.
And it's very cool. And this whole recreation was very Sherlock Holmes. I love the scene.
It was very cool. I thought of that as well. And I did think that the model that the holodeck came up with to simulate like what that body shape looked like was kind of this like gray, sort of slightly amorphous blob, but clearly had like a well-determined like cranial section of its own. Like it had a head and like some sort of amorphous-y kind of body. I was like, oh my God. And the fact that it was gray and just this like frozen mock-up, I was like, I know this is just a holodeck, but it's time to cancel program, delete file, and run the fuck away. Because that is so scary. It's like, oh my God.
Computer delete.
Also, computer, burn this holodeck and just create a new one later. I don't want anything. It was so heebie-jeebies. It was crazy.
So Geordi sees the ghost. And then before he can be like, doo-doo, bridge, there's some creepy other creature here before any of that, he collapses and his hands instantly turn into traveler's hands. And you're like,
that is what you get for not calling the doctor. Okay?
Yeah.
Just call the doctor when you have a medical need. You know it's going to get worse, Geordi.
Yeah.
This one's on you, man.
Yeah.
This is on you.
He didn't even need to go to sick bay either. He could have just been like, doop, doop. Hey, Beverly, I'm starting to have the shakes. I'm feeling a little weird. Just monitor my progress, but I'm in the holodeck. And he could have kept working and she could have been like, hey, Geordi, hello.
Computer monitor vitals.
Vital signs.
That's
yes, exactly. Yeah. Which was Geordi's suggestion when earlier they said, hey, Geordi, you should stay in the sick bay because look at what happened to Lighten. And he was like, just have the computer monitor where I am and it won't be a big deal. And I thought to myself the same thing you did. I was like, since we are always losing shuttles to, just shenanigans, let's go ahead and lock him out of shuttle control. Let's just be like, deactivate Geordi's.
Let's just pop a low jack on that shuttlecraft and like, so nobody can take it.
Just set a code where Geordi alone is not able to activate it. Like, there we go. And the same thing with the transporters, like lock out Geordi alpha code 003 or whatever.
Done.
And he just can't do it. But instead he just said, I'll give you my pinky promise that I won't do anything and have the computer monitor my vitals.
And they're like, okay, it sounds like it would work.
Work for us.
Yeah, it didn't work any other time this happened with the 5 other people, but it might work for us. Yeah, and I was like, God damn it. So now I call him Geordi. Is now so they go searching for Geordi on the holodeck and they're like, there's a super creepy like gray ghost image kind of thing here, so this is fucking terrifying.
And also with Nurse Agawa's help, Beverly has discovered that these creatures can deflect scans or whatever. They can just mimic everything around them, so you can't scan their vital signs, which is why they couldn't detect any beings on the planet. And why now that Geordi's disappeared, they're not going to be able to find him either.
Yes. So now Geordi is able to get out of the holodeck. And as they're running around the holodeck searching for him, Worf is like, look, a mangled uniform. And we're like, oh, shit. Right. So he body checks the shit out of some poor, unfortunate dude working the transporter that shift and takes off to the planet.
Who very bravely tries to shoot him, even though he's invisible. Which is amazing, because had the doors opened while I was in there, I'd be like, oh, that's weird. I would just think it's a malfunction of the doors.
Yeah.
I would not think that someone's standing there and is about to body check me. I'd be like, oh, okay, hey, doop, doop, maintenance. These doors are like open and closing. And like, I wouldn't have been like, oh, somebody just stay right there.
Somebody just give Shereese a comm badge already, because you would get so much shit done. You would never even need to leave your bed. You'd be like, I'm flying a spaceship.
There's no need.
I'm doing all this stuff. Like, it's really a work from home situation. I'm putting on a Starfleet top, but keeping my pajama bottom so I can still Zoom. But like, otherwise, like all systems normal. Everything is great.
Everything's good. Everything's good. All is well. So poor transporter dude. Who bravely tried to fight and just it didn't work out, which is fair.
An invisible guy and lost extremely quickly.
Super hard to fight someone invisible. That's
got
fair.
Clotheslined fast and then got taken out. And Geordi immediately, Geordi is able to like activate the transport. You know, they had kind of a lockout, but he overrode it.
Yes, so it looks because like he is the chief engineer. So that is actually, now that I think about that, fair. But that's why I said they should lock him out specifically. But yeah, he knows everything about the ship. So that probably wasn't going to work long term anyways.
What was cool was like, as he was being transported, we were able to see some of his makeup and we were like, oh my God, like he is totally transformed in like a matter of seconds.
And they told him that too. He was like, how much time do I have before I transform? And they looked at everybody else and they were like, it could be an hour, it could be a month. We have no idea. And for him, it was like seconds, and you just don't know.
For and Mendez, it was like, for one of them, it was like over the course of a couple of days they were ill or weeks. And then the other one was like, he passed a physical like 5 minutes before he stole a shuttlecraft. So like, we really don't know.
And then for Lighten, it was like a few hours. She started feeling symptoms and then boom, she was transformed.
And then that was it. Yeah. Now, Data does figure out a way. He is helpful in a way. He's able to like adjust the light beams from some of the beacons to focus UV light to find Geordi. And I was like, ooh, I want one of those flashlights. He kind of comes in, he's like, I'm ready, click, click. And I was like, ooh, I want that piece of technology. And they beam down to the surface and Data's able to beam his UV light everywhere that Lighten tells him to, because they're like, we need to create a perimeter that's about 10 kilometers.
She's all better now. Like she's still a little shaky, but she's still a little veiny. She can still sense the alien creatures.
Yes.
But she's walking, she's talking, her hair is done. Like she's on the mend for sure.
She's got some veins left on her neck and the side of her face, but otherwise she's good.
Yeah.
And
thanks,
so she's,
Beverly.
Yeah, she is able to say, this is not a parasite. This is how they reproduce and they make more of themselves. This is what they do. So it's not, first of all, gross.
And second still of all, a parasite.
And second of all, how dare you? I don't want to be transformed into like, you didn't even ask. This is non-consensual transformation and I'm not here for it. But she is able to kind of go down and sense. She's like, no, they're still all right here. Why they're all hanging out right there where there's no obvious food sources beyond me. But I was like, I don't know.
Well, like they said they just run on instinct. So who knows what they even eat? I mean, the whole 49 people from the freaking outpost could still be lurking around. Like
they're all just lurking around. Yeah. These very unintelligent, no sentience, just instinctual. They're like insects. And Lighten is like, wait, Geordi. I don't know how she's able to tell him from the other ones. Cause I was like, y'all look kind of the same to me.
They all
but
look
she's like, Geordi, she kind of talks to him and she's like, it's me, your friend. Remember that time that we like hung out and had drinks in 10-4 and it was awesome, and like dig deep and find that memory or whatever. And so he takes her hand in like the slowest, most like dramatic, deliberate way and then hugs her. And they're like, beep, boop. Okay. Enterprise, lock on to Lighten signal and like transport now. So they get him up and before you know it, Geordi's back.
Ta-da!
However, it's too late for Breville, Mendez, Hickman died in the atmosphere, but like,
had he not, it would have been too late for him too.
It's too late for all of them. And that's really, really sad because
you found them. Parasite, they're right there.
They're right there and you can't do anything for them. And like, they're lost to you. And it's truly sad because you're like, but their bodies are still right there, but they're not them anymore. It was really sad.
And I think it's really sad for their families too. I mean, it gives them closure to know this is what happened to my loved one. They're living their lives out on this planet as some parasitic alien offspring creature. I think that's worse than like Hickman, who died, right? Where you're like, oh no, he died, because they didn't die, but they were transformed to the point where the person you knew absolutely died, but there's some creature with your loved one's body still hanging out. And that is just, that just messes with your mind on a whole new level.
It really is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And that's really hard. It would be easier to process in a linear fashion for Hickman's family to be like, he got this illness and died, but to be like, they got this illness and like abandoned our family and now they're living somewhere far away, but we're not able to reach them in the way.
Right.
It's
but
really
we will never
sad.
have them back again.
All right. So that's where the episode wraps. What are your final thoughts on this one?
I really like this episode. I love the idea of an organism transforming its host. That is super interesting. Of a parasite transforming the host to match the parasite completely from top to bottom.
Yes.
And that's their form of reproduction is so fascinating. I think that's another super cool twist on what aliens can do that humans can't do. Yeah. And I loved getting a little bit of backstory on Geordi as a person without him being a weirdo. That was really cool. I love that in their 10-forward conversation at the beginning, how Lighten was saying, hey, I used to give you all this advice on girls. I remember that, like, you're my little brother kind of a thing. And he was just like, oh no, I love the bachelor life too much. That's why I'm single, which is false. But I just love the little like, oh, he has friends that are not Data or Worf. And like he had a past.
Or Wesley.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like this episode. What about you?
I thought the episode was okay. It's a lot better than I remember it being. I did think it was a pretty slow episode. I felt like a lot of the scenes kind of went on for longer than they needed to. Like this episode could have been like a quick 30 instead of like a kind of more drawn out 45 or 50 minutes. But overall, it was okay. I would give it like a B. But it was cool. I mean, I would watch it again. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. I think it was fine. It definitely wasn't as bad as I remembered. I was like, okay, cool. So that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
That was a win for me. But on that note, next week is like one that I love. We are diving into season 4, episode 19, The Nth Degree. I cannot wait to jump into that with you, Shereese.
Yeah, that's going to be super fun.
All right. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for geeking out with us. Be sure to join the crew at thetngpodcast.com to be the first to know when we do our live shows or host events exclusively for our members. We'll see you next time.